So I'm going to talk about why autism, alcohol, and girls don't mix. So I'm going to just share my story growing up and how I was with girls, and maybe you can relate. Obviously, if you're a girl, you're probably already bored, but stay tuned because it's not just about girls. It's about addictions. It's about having autism, and it's just the way that we are in life. Okay, I've been trying not to stim for the last 2 months, and today I'm kind of freaking out. I'm listening to this garbage song over and over. I found it on TikTok. Shirley Manson is gorgeous and a lot of sexual energy, and I'm playing the same song over and over and over. If you have autism and you stim, maybe you have the same type of obsessive behavior. You can listen to the same song for hours. And I can't stop listening to it because it reminds me of the 90s when I actually had some sexual prowess. Even though I had autism, there were moments where I acted like the cool guy, and it worked. There was other times when I tried to act cool and I fell flat on my face. But anyways, so I started I grew up in a small town. It was very conservative, and my parents were upper middle class. My parents owned their own business. And, I had an older sister, and I played by myself. I had good friends in school, yada, yada, yada. Everything was pretty much fine, except I liked rocking back and forth and, would do it 3 to 4 hours a day back then. It got to the point where I was doing it 14 hours a day, but that's another video. But I was really awkward with girls. My best friends were all guys, and I got really shy. If there was more than one guy in the room, I would get really quiet. I'd be the quiet one if there was more than one other friend in the room. But, it was a wholesome upbringing. My parents were very loving. They didn't drink, they didn't drug. I was very sheltered. So girls were just something that were alien to me. I mean, they were just so far different. I knew that they were different, and I tried playing cool, but that was it. It was an act. I was great at one-liners, but then I'd have to leave right away before, they challenged me. But I remember being obsessed with girls, even though they were so different. I remember being obsessed with what they wore. I would drop my pencil to check out their socks. I mean, just kind of, weird little kid stuff. Their socks were different than mine. So I was like, whoa, and I was about 16. I was almost 17 when I got my first girlfriend, and she was 2 years younger than me. Well, she wasn't that popular. She was kind of a nerd, and that only lasted like 2 weeks. And this is at the same time I was starting to experiment with alcohol. And if you've watched my other videos, I was completely obsessed with alcohol. It made me feel invincible. It opened up a whole new world to me because my dad was very suppressive. He was bullheaded. I was bullheaded. We didn't get along anymore. I was getting in trouble with the police. So I was giving him the silent treatment. But so this girl was, it was 2 weeks. It was nothing. All right. I was more interested in her dad's stash of marijuana under the bed. I mean, I was just like, come on, come on. Can we try to smoke it? Can we smoke it? And she's like, no. And so that pretty much didn't last. And then and that was it. That was it for like almost 2 years until I was 18. And when I was 18, I went to a party. And again, I'm very naive. I think I was already buzzed, and then had the courage to go to this house party. And the girl was 27, and she was playing cards with two of my friends at the table. And so I was drinking, and I got that liquid courage, and I was apparently the coolest one there because she grabbed my arm and took me into her bedroom. My friends got embarrassed and they left. Okay. But it wasn't like great. Okay. Let me just say that it was kind of funny because, she was kind of saying, she was like saying, don't stop. And I'm hard of hearing because I was playing drums like 4 hours a day. So, so I stopped and I was like, what? and that ruined the whole thing. Like, she kicked me out. I tried coming back over like 2 weeks later, trying to act all suave. I had a bottle of whiskey. I don't know how I got it, but I was just like, hey, you want a drink? And she's like, I'm busy right now. Slammed the door in my face. And that was it for like another 2 years. Then when I was 20 years old, I'm working as a dishwasher in a restaurant, and I'm writing poetry on the side just for fun, because I've always been into the arts. And so I was writing poetry, and I showed it to the cook. She was 20 years older than me. She was like almost like the age of my mom. And actually she had kids that were older than me. But she was different. She was artistic. She wore black leather. She was like one of the first women I ever saw with a tattoo on her forearm. And I was just like, wow, she's kind of, out there. Like, because I was used to women like my mom, very conservative and sweet and didn't touch any drugs or alcohol. And here I am washing dishes with this older woman. She was cooking and I was the dishwasher. And I was like, hey, you want to check out my poetry? And she's like, sure. And she was an avid reader. And so she took it home, came back the next day, and she said, I loved it. Would you like to come over and drink some wine? And I'm 20 years old at this point, living in a van, a Volkswagen van. And I was like, yeah, I'll come over. And I went over there and we had a glass of wine together, and she was very sophisticated. And I was precocious. So I was like, okay, I can play her game. I'm sophisticated too. And she loved my poetry. And she had awesome art on her wall. She did her own art, out there stuff too, like surreal stuff. And she made skull crucifixes made out of driftwood. Because we lived in a town that had water all the way around it, and she'd get driftwood and make these crucifixes. Anyways, she was pretty out there, and I like that because I'm 20 and I want to be out there too. I want to be a crazy artist. At this point, I want to be crazy. I literally told a friend one time, I was like, I want to go insane. And he looked at me like, you're crazy. And I was like, no, I want to go insane. And that's because my parents were so straight. I wanted to do everything that was opposite of them. So I wanted to be this whacked out, schizophrenic artist. And if I could take drugs to speed up the process, I would. Anyways, the woman that I was having wine with, she was like, hey, do you want to spend the night? And I was like, sure, but you got a son that's like right in his room playing guitar right now. And she's like, oh, he won't come out. He won't bug us. And I was like, okay, I got a great idea. I'll pretend that I'm leaving. I'll say goodbye really loud, and then I'll slip into your bedroom. And so I did it. I was like, goodbye, nice meeting you, and pretended I slammed the door and pretended I left, and then I snuck into her room. And that was the first time I really went all the way. And, people have different meanings of what all the way is, but let's just say, it was very dramatic for me. I mean, I was just like, oh my gosh. This is really getting intimate here. And, she taught me a lot. I mean, she's 20 years older than me. I was 20, she was 40, and she turned me on to the arts. She listened to the coolest music out of Seattle in the 90s. I mean, this is right when grunge was coming out, but she had really different music, even cooler than grunge. Like, No Means No, punk, very eclectic, all different kinds of music. One day she's listening to Tom Waits, the next minute she's listening to Faith No More, next minute she's listening to Rich Kids on LSD, you name it. I mean, just No Means No, the Jesus Lizard, really like Green River before Mudhoney, like before grunge got big. And I loved it. And then she turned me on to the Beat Generation. We were reading in bed together. I moved in with her, got rid of the van, and she spoiled me for like 4.5 years. So the only reason why I lasted so long with her in that relationship was she allowed me to rock back and forth, stimming. That's my method of stimming, was rocking back and forth. And she'd allowed me to listen to all the music I wanted. There was no rules. I mean, she was the coolest older lady in the world. Okay, the whole family was artistic. They didn't care that I had moved in, and that's why she allowed me to be myself. But after that, I went to Job Corp, and I suddenly wasn't cool anymore. I mean, I was around girls my age or younger, and they were like, "Ew, weirdo." And this one girl, she really liked me because, I looked cute. I was definitely a good looking guy in my 20s. And girls checked me out all the time. But when it got to the girl, I just didn't want to have anything to do with it. I didn't want to feel used. Okay, so when a girl was going after me, I was like, I didn't like it. Because I was like, I wasn't in control anymore. I'm a control freak. So I was like, no, I don't want anything to do with you. And I had to be with girls that were very intelligent. I didn't care how they looked. They had to be super intelligent. Okay? That's sexier to me than the Beachbody hot, the arm candy BS. Okay? Arm candy BS doesn't matter at all if they're dumb. And so I like these well-read women. But let me go back really fast, okay? Let's just say it was around this time, before the older woman, okay? This is how I was with alcohol and women. There was a 19-year-old girl, super cute. Or no, she was like 17 and I was 19. Super cute. And this is when I'm like starting to really love alcohol. I'm drinking wine every night, trying to be an artist, a poet who drank red wine every night, And this girl was literally climbing on me in the car. But there was a bar across the parking lot, and it was this open mic, and they had a drum set in there. And I grew up playing drums. So I could hear them in there. And all I could think about with this girl on my lap was, I want alcohol. So I went through this stage where I was like, get off of me. I'm going in that bar, because I was like, I kind of had this little thing against women. Like, they called me weirdo and the cheerleaders hated me in high school. And I was like, I was going to get them back. So now I'm good looking. I'm in my mid-20s, but I'm hooked on alcohol. So I'm like, get off of me, show me the alcohol. And there was like at least 5 girls that wanted me, and I was just like, get out of the way. Where's the bar? And it was my way of kind of getting them back, for treating me so bad in high school. So I think the peak in my life with girls was I was 25. I just got out of Job Corp. The older lady dumped me because this is where the autism came out, because I went to Job Corp when I was 24. She kicked me out. I got into some trouble. I was homeless for a week. I went from living a luxurious life with her, feeding me dinner and fine wine and art, and to living on the streets for a week. And then I went to Job Corp, where the girls didn't like me because, now I'm dealing with, young girls that are picky. Not the older women that are like, hey, come on over, little boy. Let me show you a couple things. So when I got out of Job Corp, I was 25 and I was ripped from the exercise and being sober for the first time in my life since I started drinking when I was 17. So now I got a 6-pack. I'm 180. My hair's nice. I'm tan. 6-pack. And now the women are like whistling at me. And I went back to my small town, and I just had a cruiser, a Schwin Cruiser. I didn't have a car. I didn't have any credit card debt or anything. I came back. My parents were like, we don't want you to be homeless. We'll put you in a 15-foot trailer. You can live there. And I had a Schwin Cruiser. And I used to ride into town. It was a 4-mile ride. and girls would literally whistle at me as they drove by in the cars. And I finally met this girl that kept whistling at me, and she came over to my house, and or actually converted school bus at that point. Anyway, so a lot of these girls were like climbing all over me, but I didn't catch clues because I have autism. So I don't catch clues. There was girls that always picked on me, and when girls pick on you, that usually means they like you. Now, I'm not talking about the mean, like cursing at you. I'm talking about pinching you and laughing and you know, this one girl like put salt on my cookies in high school, and apparently that means that they like you when they're messing with your food. Um, so 25, that was my peak. All right. But then alcohol came back, and I started hanging out with my homeless neighbors, or they were almost homeless. They were on Social Security disability. I wanted to be the great American writer. And so I found my neighbors. They were wacky. They were like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And I was like, I want to study them and write about them. I want to create the next Jack Kerouac on the road type of novel. And I got to study these guys. Plus, they drink. All right. So I'm like, let me at them. I want to hang out at a campfire and just drink 40s all day. And so that's when I got back into drinking. And then my self-esteem took a huge nosedive. And I started dating women that were not the best looking, overweight, and just, you know, I just went downhill because I was getting drunk every night now. And my 25-year-old Sheen was no more. I mean, I was now 30, drinking and driving, being pathetic, pissing my bed, getting blacked out every night. People would have to tell me what I did the next day. But there was still these moments where alcohol worked the first couple hours, and everything was magical. And I could go to a bar and there would be a band playing, and I could dance on the floor with beautiful girls. And I was the one hit or 1 hour wonder. You know, I could be like, you know, it looked like a movie, like Miami Vice, just like, you know, just like everything's great for an hour, and I'm just like, you know, and then 2 hours later I'm vomiting and trying to walk in this alley, and I'm fall over the dumpsters, and I pass out and I piss my pants. It's kind of like the Cinderella Story every night, you know. The 1 hour buzz, I'm like, doom, doom. And then after that, it's like, you know, and people are like punching me, and I'm pissing my pants, and I hear women in the distance going, "Is he okay?" You know, that was the reality. And I want you guys to remember that if you're still drinking, play that all the way through your evening before you drink, and you're playing that highlight reel of drinking. Play that movie all the way through until that night when you're blacked out and being stupid and people want to beat you up. Play it all the way through. And the morning too, the hangover, the puking in the toilet, puking up your strawberry milk. All right. So anyways, and the alcohol basically dictated who I dated. It got to the point where girls were breaking up with me because I drank too much. And that was the story of my life for about 15 years. You know, I had chances with some really cute girls, and they were like, "You drink too much." No way. You know? And then, so finally, I got what I deserved. I dated a girl who partied just as hard as me, and she was just as stormy as me, kind of like the Sid Nancy, okay? If you haven't seen that documentary, you have to. It's about Sid Vicious and Nancy so-and-so. They were a stormy relationship. He was from the Sex Pistols. This is the 70s. But anyways, I love that movie when I was drinking a lot because I romanticized it. I romanticized drama, all right, until I met this girl who played as hard as I did. And it got to the point where she was beating me up, and she had to go to jail, and she would get me drinks She was kind of an enabler. Because she saw me suffering. She saw me not, writhing from withdrawals in the morning, and she'd feel sad, and I'd say, "Go get me a 6-pack," and she would every day. But I got to the point where I was drinking twice a day, getting drunk twice a day. And you're like, how is that possible? Well, you start drinking when you get up, you get wasted by 11 a.m., you pass out, and then by 3 p.m., you're getting one on, tying one on before dinner. All right. And then you got beer at your bedside. So at 4 a.m., when you wake up with the shakes, you drink that. And I did that because I was only working 2 days a week now. And I could drink at work, basically. All right. So, anyways, I know I'm rambling, but just hear me out because maybe you'll see some similarities or whatever. But basically, she beat me up, and I was done. I was just I tell my story. I tell this story a lot on my other videos, so check them out and subscribe if you're new here. But basically, my friends said I was going to die. I didn't listen to them. Had a heart attack when I was 32. It didn't scare me. Kept drinking. Blah, blah, blah. DUIs, arrest, all that. Nothing stopped me until this one guy came over to our house. He was a punk, skateboarder punk, made fun of me. And I couldn't do anything about it because I was laying in bed shaking with DTs and I sleep in the nude. So I'm just sitting there, and he's in my room making fun of me, and that's what made me hit my bottom. And I was like, I'm done. This guy made me feel powerless in my own house. I'm done. And so I stopped drinking. And when I stopped drinking, and 2 years into sobriety, my self-esteem skyrocketed. I got in shape again. I would start reading self-development books, and I finally got a decent girlfriend because the people you date reflect who you are, what you're doing on the inside. And so my self-esteem was up. I had a nice car again. I cleaned up nicely, and I dated a girl that had an alcoholic dad, and she didn't want to drink. And so next few years I had 4 mini relapses, 2-day relapses. But then I was like, I don't want to revisit this. It was pure hell being a drunk. I'm done. And now it's been it'll be 10 years next month that I've been sober with no relapses. And so that's why I'm sharing my story with you guys, because I'm still here, I'm still alive, and I get a lot of comments from you guys who say you're still drinking, and I really want to say that you can stop. All you have to do, you got to hit bottom, but that's not a license to drink. But you have to have enough, and you might have to move away from your town, and you might have to get all new friends. I didn't get new friends, I just isolated. I'm still isolating. It's just me and my fiance, Misha. We've been together 13 years. And I'm not rocking. And I'm putting all my energy into videos and content and my online business. And I'm working out again. But if you can just flip what you do, what your habits are, instead of destructive habits, flip them over to healthy. And what I mean by healthy is I like adrenaline, so I like jogging because you get a jogger's high. I like to relax, so I take hot baths or sauna at a gym. Find a gym that has a sauna, because 20 minutes in a sauna, you are feeling pretty good. So I just tried to change all of those destructive habits into positive habits. Now I spend a lot of focus on my online business. I'm doing videos every day for my business. So yeah, but I'm still, tapping and humming because I'm not rocking back and forth. But anyways, so I've been listening to garbage all day long. This little clip on TikTok. Check out my last video I just did an hour ago. I'm obsessed with Shirley Manson today because it reminds me of the 90s. When I had my youth, I was in my 20s. I was attractive. Girls thought I was hot. And so check out that video. But whatever I see in that video, I'm not saying it's okay to drink, okay? I mentioned that alcohol at one point did work, but eventually it takes away from you more than it gave you. That's how Satan works. Okay? Satan lures you in with enticing things. Oh, this would be so good. This would be so good. But at the end, you're left shaking in a corner, scared, with nothing left. And I've been homeless. I know. Satan takes away everything if you allow it, and if you're an addict like me. So that's why I do these videos. I love you guys. I kind of lost energy. I'm still kind of fighting a cold, and I started off strong, but now I'm like, okay, well, I'll talk to you later. And that's probably how I was with girls, you know. You put up a strong front, and an hour later, I'm like, shut up. I don't want to talk anymore.